All right, let's jump right into this explainer, because today we are completely cracking the code on viral content creation. We're looking at the ultimate blueprint, specifically the exact prompt architecture you need to engineer a highly engaging 5 to 6 minute YouTube script aimed squarely at a US audience. Now, this isn't just your standard creative writing class, you know? This is practically structural engineering. We're going to deconstruct how you can mathematically build a script that is incredibly fast-paced, highly cinematic, and just wildly entertaining, right down to the absolute strictest constraints that literally force a script to be great.
So let's think about this for a second. What actually makes a video impossible to click away from? Well, our source material reveals that the secret starts immediately. I mean, you simply do not have time to warm up your audience anymore. The instructions explicitly demand a ridiculously powerful hook within the very first 5 seconds. Think about that time frame. 5 seconds to instantly grab a viewer's curiosity. If you don't win them right there at the starting line, they are gone. It's a pretty ruthless constraint, honestly, but it forces the creator to distill their absolutely most captivating idea into the very first breath of the script.
Okay, so you've successfully grabbed their attention. Awesome. But how do you keep it? As you'll see, it all comes down to a highly mandated tone. On one hand, the script has to be friendly, super energetic, and heavily rooted in storytelling. Plus, it needs to use simple American English that's accessible to literally all ages. On the flip side, there is a strict zero-tolerance policy for complex phrasing or boring delivery. The prompt engineers are basically dictating an entire psychological vibe here. It needs to feel like this really enthusiastic, fun teacher is guiding you through fascinating material, making sure absolutely no one gets left behind by overly dense or academic jargon.
So, what is the actual payload of this script? Well, at the core of this blueprint is a very specific quantity, 15. The prompt specifically orders exactly 15 mind-blowing facts that sound totally, completely fake but are actually 100% true. And honestly, it's a brilliant psychological trick. By promising exactly 15 unbelievable things, you set this very clear expectation and you create a mental checklist that the viewer inherently wants to see completed. It forms this compact, high-value promise that is perfectly tailored for that fast-paced 5 to 6 minute runtime we talked about. But here's the catch. To keep the audience from getting bored while ticking off those 15 facts, the source mandates strict variety. The script must constantly context switch across a super diverse, dynamic mix of subjects. We're talking everything from the vastness of space and the animal kingdom to history, science, technology, and the crazy, intricate details of the human body. This is highly intentional. Think about it. If you just rattle off 15 history facts, well, a science fan might just click off halfway through. By mixing it up like this, a completely fresh hit of information is always guaranteed to be just around the corner. Now let's look at the actual rhythm of the script. The prompt engineers absolutely perfect the pacing by requiring a strict, repeating loop for every single fact. Step 1. State an accurate, well-supported fact, but you've got to keep it incredibly tight. Strictly between 40 to 60 words. No rambling allowed, period. Step 2. Immediately ask an engaging question. And Step 3. Build suspense for the next point. It's this relentless, highly optimized cycle designed to pull the viewer along incredibly smoothly and ensure the momentum absolutely never drops.
Actually, I want to hover on that last point for a second. Notice how it requires building suspense. We usually think of suspense as, something from a Hollywood thriller or a scary movie. But here, it's treated purely as a mechanical, structural tool. The prompt literally commands the writer to use it, specifically so viewers want to stay until the end. It's not about frightening anyone, it's about creating a constant low-level itch of curiosity that can literally only be satisfied by watching the very next segment. It's the invisible glue holding those 40-word facts together.
And how exactly do you create that itch? Well, to drive that constant viewer engagement, the instructions provide mandatory questions you have to ask after each short fact. Simple, direct prompts like, "Did you know this? Can you believe it?" Or, "What would you do?" By constantly asking these, you force a transition. You're turning the viewer from a passive watcher into an active participant. You are essentially forcing them to internally answer and become deeply invested in the narrative flow. Now, the source doesn't just tell you what to do, it acts as an unforgiving editor, dictating exactly what is completely off-limits. The prompt explicitly bans any camera directions, stage directions, or timestamps from being generated in the text. It wants pure, usable script, nothing else. Furthermore, while it demands original content, it acknowledges that, hey, some facts are commonly known. The safeguard for that? If you repeat a common fact, you are strictly forbidden from doing so unless you include an entirely new explanation. It's a really smart way to guarantee fresh output every single time. So as we finally reach the finish line, how is this highly structured script forced to wrap up? You obviously can't just fade to black. The blueprint actually demands a highly specific, word-for-word call to action right at the end. It literally has to say, which fact surprised you the most? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing facts. It's a masterful end cap. It perfectly leverages those 15 facts to instantly generate community engagement, and then seamlessly transitions that momentum into a perfectly timed pitch to subscribe.
So, now that we've deconstructed exactly how this prompt perfectly engineers a viral script, it leaves us with something pretty fascinating to think about. Out of everything we covered, which of these strict, retention-optimized constraints actually surprised you the most? Was it that ruthless 40 to 60 word limit per fact? The mandatory context switching between space, animals, and technology? Or maybe that super calculated use of suspense just to keep people watching? The next time you find yourself captivated by a fast-paced video of facts, just remember the invisible, rigorous architecture holding your attention.